The baddest safety in the land, who played at the University of Miami, as well as the Baltimore Ravens and NFL, none other than Ed Reed, has now been named the new head coach of the Bethune Cookman University Wildcats football team. Many of you may know Ed Reed believes in giving back to the youth, which is something that he's been doing for some time now. A lot of you also know the fact that Ed Reed was a part of the Miami University Hurricanes football team coaching staff, in which he was the ambassador as far as dealing with the recruits and a lot of different athletes as far as different things that they were dealing with on a day-to-day basis being college football players. And you know, Ed Reed has always been one that kept his doors open to sit down and talk with athletes to get an understanding of what they may be going through and possibly guide them in the right direction. But one thing for certain is this: now he's going to be dealing with a group of young men of his own that he's going to be leading out there on the field to play football next fall in the SWAC football conference. So guys, we're going to go ahead and get in what we can expect from Coach Reed this upcoming football season and the Bethune Cookman Wildcats football team right after this. You know, it's your favorite coach back at it again. 10 toes down, about to tell you how it all went down. This is Tomorrow Leader Sports Network with your host, Coach Walker. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can get all upcoming videos. For all my leaders out there, welcome back. Y'all know the drill. Y'all know the routine. If you haven't done so already, please like, comment, and share these videos. And tap in the friend too and tell them to come on in. It's nothing but positive vibes. We're just having a good time talking about HBCU sports. And don't forget, you can follow us on all social media platforms. The links are listed down below in the description. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get on in this thing and get straight to it. Because I know you're like, Coach, what's your thoughts on this hire? I'm going to be honest with you. When he was first named as the new head coach of the Bethune Cookman football team, the first thing came to mind was the conversation that I briefly had with him after practice one day when I was leaving the park, in which I saw him out there with his son. They was practicing baseball that evening. And I asked him the one question after I took this picture with him. I said, Mr. Reed, can I ask you a question? He said, sure, what's your question? I said, how soon can we expect you to coach an HBCU football team? He said, well, listen, there's been several offers that have come across my desk in which I've been considering, wanting to, well, not considering, but he has been entertaining those offers coming across his desk as far as whether or not he wanted to go ahead and, pursue those offers that was being given to him at that time. But one thing he made for certain was this: he had to make sure that everything aligned accordingly when it came to his family. That means the missus all the way down to the kids. Everything has to be in alignment for Ed Reed to go ahead and say, hey, listen, let's go ahead and hit the switch on this. We're going to go ahead and take this position. We're going to move forward on me becoming a college coach. Well, Bethune Cookman has definitely made sure that things are aligned for them to go ahead and get Ed Reed in the door to become their next head football coach over the Wildcats football team. One thing for certain is this: Ed Reed being named as the new head football coach of Bethune Cookman, you're going to see some things that's going to take place as far from a structure standpoint. Because if you haven't paid close attention to a lot of the things that Coach Ed likes to do outside of coaching and being a part of dealing with athletes on a daily basis, is making sure that there's things in place for the youth to do as far as with keeping themselves out of trouble. Remember, a lot of us that grew up during the times that, I'm sure Coach Reed grew up during the same time, we had outlets, meaning being able to go to the park, doing certain things of that nature to keep ourselves busy. There was structure there. And Bethune Cookman football players, y'all get ready, because y'all about to get some structure. Because one thing for certain is this: head coach Ed Reed ain't about to take no madness going on with none of the athletes out there on the field. There's going to be expectations for these athletes for them to get themselves, make sure that they get themselves trained properly, make sure they got their books, got their studies together when it comes to their schoolwork. He's not dealing with none of that rigmarole. He's going to make sure that you're on point as far as everything that you need to do. Thinking back to last season when Bethune Cookman played Miami. Now, yes, they got the doors blown off of them in that game, which I think the score was like 70-13. One thing for certain he saw in that game of the athletes from Bethune Cookman was the fact that they had that grit and that fight in them to get out there on the field and still get after it, even though they were down by, big numbers in that game. It was like he saw something in that team to say, hey, listen, this is the program I want to become the head coach over, and let's go ahead and try to make a difference here so that we can get things, moving in the right direction for them. Let's get the athletes in here so that they can really get out here and compete on a big level. Not only that, I would say many of you out there may be thinking that Coach Reed is not going to be able to get in those rooms and, get in those, not those rooms, but get into those, actually get into those living rooms, that is, and sit down with those parents to recruit their athletes to come to Bethune-Cookman and become a part of his program. Let me break something down to you. He's already doing this at the University of Miami. Don't forget, he coached a couple of years in the NFL as well. So while there's a lot of folks out there that may not know his resume as far as all that he's been able to do prior to getting this head coaching position at Bethune-Cookman, trust and believe, Coach Ed Reed is very well versed on a lot of things, and when it comes to recruiting, as well as making sure that he's able to speak the lingo to the athletes for them to understand exactly where he's coming from, and they can have that dialogue that's going back and forth so that they have a mutual relationship with one another, so that it blossoms into something that's going to be beautiful, especially later on down the line, because a lot of these athletes are getting into the pros and they don't have that mentor, someone that they can lean on for them to continue to keep leading them in that direction. And Coach Ed Reed has been one of those individuals that has been doing just that. Not only that, let me see here. I want to make sure I get that right. Now, many of you may say, well, Coach, hold on. What coaching experience did he have? Well, in 2016, he was an assistant defensive back coach for the Buffalo Bills. For the University of Miami from 2020 to 2022, he was the chief of staff. So trust and believe, he's had his rounds as far as being out there with the athletes to get an understanding of what goes on from, the mindset of a lot of these athletes that are coming into the pros, and also a lot of these athletes that's coming into a big name program like the University of Miami, what the expectations are for them out there on the field. Being the chief of staff, you already know he was that guy that was getting them phone calls when all else failed, and he needed to get out there and make sure he got some things situated and handled in the right direction. Coach Ed Reed was that guy that was making sure it was being done appropriately. So one thing I say is this, like I stated before, looking at Bethune-Cookman's record from last season, they lost 3 games by 10 points or less. And with the right coaching staff, as well as on the offensive as well as the defensive side of the ball, they could get things turned around to, look a bit brighter for that program, instantly. I mean, think about it. If they made a couple of changes here and there as far as the offensive scheme of things, they possibly could have got more points put up on the board in some of those games that they had lost by 10 points or less. I think they possibly could have won those games. I think they had like 3 games that they lost anywhere from 15 to 10 points or less during the season last year, which they went 2-9. They could have possibly went 5-6. So it's just something to really look at exactly what Coach Ed Reed has his hands on from a standpoint of talent that's within the program. And Bethune-Cookman definitely has some athletes on the team. So we're going to see how all of that, how all of that works out as well, especially now with the new signing period that's going to happen in February. The signing day is coming rapidly. So now he's going to be able to get in there, get to talking to some of these athletes in these living rooms, talk to these parents, and get these athletes into the program to start moving Bethune-Cookman football program forward. So this is going to be something great to see go down. And I'm definitely going to be watching from afar to see exactly what Coach Ed Reed can do with this program. And again, I wish Bethune-Cookman nothing but the best of luck. I'm glad they were able to get them a great hire in Coach Ed Reed. And I'm glad Ed Reed has finally been able to get himself in that head coaching role that I'm sure he's been looking at for some time. But hey, congratulations to you, Coach Ed Reed, on becoming the new head football coach of the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. But until next time, be the one and lead.